All right, going live there. It should bring me back to the Zoom room, I hope. Our virtual sacred space that we gather together. I love, love. Going live there. It should bring me back to the Zoom room, I hope. Our virtual sacred space that we and then you hear me talking on the other. That's so weird. Okay, are we good now? Live time, real time? Yes. Okay, welcome to the monthly masterclass, which we've recently renamed the Distinctions of Extraordinary Living. It's still the same content. It's still what matters most. It's still this juicy opportunity to explore how do we get to show up in the world to live the most extraordinary life possible in order to have the most extraordinary relational health with ourself, with each other, with spirit, with society, and with our surroundings. So it's all the same material. I just had the good fortune of working with my son this week, Everett, who's home recuperating, rehabilitating. Tanya, you're the only one who doesn't know this here. He had his appendix out earlier this week. Yeah, and he's healing from that, and we have more tests to do. So it's kind of a wait and see sort of thing. So prayers are welcome, openness toward the situation welcome. But as he was here rehabbing, he helped me design a new logo and a new name, and we both just loved it. Mary approved, so we're going with it. So Distinctions of Extraordinary Living it is. It's an opportunity to really do a deeper dive into what I call the three realms: the realm of resilience, the realm of compassion, and the realm of service. The 12 distinctions, there are 4 in each of those realms. And just a quick review, because we do 1 distinction per month. So Tanya, I think you've been here the whole time. Mary's been here. The first distinction of extraordinary living is trust. We must trust ourselves to no longer abandon ourselves. And how that shows up in each of our individual lives is different, but the spirit behind it is the same. That if I am in tune with the story I'm telling myself about my life, with how I'm showing up, what energy am I bringing into the room, I am trusting myself in a way that is giving me an incredibly resilient way of being in the world. Second distinction, focus. Focusing in on your own hula hoop, focusing in on your own lane on the track, focusing in on your own path up the mountain, instead of worrying, oh, how are they getting up there faster? Or who's doing that over there? Maybe I should try that. And those chronic distractions and shiny objects that can seem alluring and derail us. Our job, in order to live an extraordinary life, is to really focus right here. What does my tender heart need today in order to be of maximum service? Third distinction, repair. Be willing to own your part in whatever is going on, because we all contribute on some level. Asking oneself, am I being instrumental, detrimental, or inconsequential to this moment? How am I showing up? What did I do that perhaps I could have done a little differently? Allowing guilt, that experience of, oops, I made a mistake, I should do it differently, to inform us so that we can pivot and redirect, and avoiding the toxic shame swampland that tells us I am bad, I am a mistake, I am a failure. There's a clear distinction between guilt and shame. We get to know that when we repair and own our parts. Fourth distinction, faith. Incredibly vital for having a resilient heart, having faith in how the world works, having a conviction that what you're doing matters, being willing to harness that energy that wants to help you surrender to what is and still get out of bed in the morning and do the next indicated thing. Having faith that you don't have to recreate your life on a daily basis, that there's some structural support that you can rely on because you've built up these other things. You have a way of making amends. You have a way of focusing. You have a way of trusting yourself. That helps develop faith. Faith is the way we experience joy. Joy is the emotion of faith. Commitment is the action of faith. Faith inspires me to live my most extraordinary life possible. That faith can include faith in a higher power, but it starts with a faith and a conviction in how you're showing up in life, in my opinion. Fifth distinction, we're moving now into the realm of compassion. This is where we get to really do those practices. The first distinction within this realm, the fifth distinction of an extraordinary life, is clarity, clearing the mind. And this is the hand gesture. I have hand gestures for all of them. I won't go into them, but that energetic calming of, oh my goodness, there's so much going on up here. Clarity of mind is essential for dropping into a compassionate heart. Where are we? Sixth distinction. That's where we are today. We're in the month of June. That's why I have Junie Moon as our special guest. It's aptly named. The sixth distinction of an extraordinary life is that quality of openness, the open heart. And we'll begin now. I've shared a lot of words, probably because I'm a little nervous and trying to find my ground. So I hang out in my head when I'm that way, but I'm ready to drop into my heart. So if you'll join me, the practice for this is to bring your fingers kind of like a little bird beak almost, and bring it to your heart center. And then just slowly spread the fingers with the breath. And do this a few times. If you'd like to lower your gaze or close your eyes, just imagine this openness of heart. Gently bringing that concentrated heat, the eternal flame of the heart, and spreading it out, just stimulating it with the most gentle pressure, gentle awareness of touch. Next, we'll bring our left hand onto the heart, the right hand on top, and just begin, again, just slight pressure. You decide what feels good, find what feels good, but small circular rotations, just waking up the heart region. Probably don't need to do this with any of you amazing women, but it's always a good reminder to just wake up the heart region. Those of you watching later, perhaps on the YouTube channel, try this. Do not do this while driving. Just feel that loving touch, loving connection with yourself. And when you feel complete, just release that. We'll take a few deep conscious breaths in through the nose. Pausing, acknowledging all that has transpired before this moment, and exhaling, releasing, inhaling again through the nose, that sweet deep breath of all that remains in the day, in the month, in the year, in the lifetime, and releasing that as well. Third and final deep conscious breath together. Pausing in the sweetness of this moment right here, right now. I invite you to feel the quality of the air on your skin, the quality of gravity holding you in your seat, the ever-present presence of gravity holding you here now. And exhale, release. I adore the power of the bow to bring my head to my level of my heart, to be informed by that wisdom, to acknowledge the space between and what we're co-creating, the alchemical mix of coming together. I need you, I appreciate you, and this bow will help demonstrate that. Inhaling and exhaling. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. Thank you so much for allowing me to open our sacred power hour together. Mary, can you help us out now?
All right. Hi, everyone. So we would like you to, I'm just kind of reframing it. Okay, video on, engage on chat. Okay, so any questions that come up, if you're in the middle of something or you're agreeing to something, use the chat feature, and that's something that Amy and I will both be manning. If we can, set our phones aside, turn them off, Let's give our full attention to each other and to this process right now. If you have a pen and paper handy, you might want to grab one to take notes. I always take notes. Here's my pen and here's my paper. And then there's something like one thing that jumps out. I have a feeling there's going to be many more than one, but it just always feels good to know that we can all walk away with one thing, just walk away with what that action step could be. Write it down. Again, our theme for today's show is openness, and I'm going to read out of Amy's book, Moonshot. Aim high, dive deep, live an extraordinary life. And this is chapter 6, openness. Openness, ordinary definition, is acceptance of our receptiveness to change, thank you, Tanya, or new ideas. So one more time, acceptance of or receptiveness to change or new ideas. Openness, extraordinary definition, is acceptance of the present state of things and a tremendous desire to upgrade the quality of one's spiritual life. Our quote for this distinction is from Harville Hendricks. If you improve talking without judgment so that you can connect, you actually help satisfy the deepest yearning of the human heart. That's beautiful. And I am reading a book for my book club, and I just pulled one of my Pema cards, and I was just using it as a bookmark. And this morning I was like, I should read that. It's been a kind of a difficult week. I've had a lot of personalities, and this was just beautiful. And it felt like it really matched. And the front of it says, be grateful to everyone. And then the commentary is, others will always show you exactly where you are stuck. They say or do something that you automatically get hooked into a familiar way of reacting, shutting down, speeding up, or getting all worked up. When you react in a habitual way with anger, greed, and so forth, it gives you a chance to see your patterns and work with them honestly and compassionately. Without others provoking you, you remain ignorant of your painful habits and cannot train in transforming them into the path of awakening. I just thought that was beautiful. Beautiful. I just have a little chill. It's something I needed to see in here, and I thought it would be perfect. So here's what our next hour is going to look like. Actually, our next 45 minutes now is, okay, Amy's going to spend some time on openness. And our special guest today is Junie Moon. I'm super excited about that. I will introduce Junie later when she gets started. We do close our time at the top of the hour. We promise not to run late. And if it's, we'll have a chance for some sharing at the top of the hour, 10 to 15 minutes, asking Amy anything, and anybody who wants to hang out, please do. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce Amy. And for those of you who don't know our guest, our guide today, this is Amy, a tender, powerful, generous woman. Amy is a relationship architect, skilled at building relationships with self, other, and spirit. She's a published author, and these can be purchased directly from me if you need a book. I am handling this for Amy. So without any further ado, Amy, take us with you.
Thank you, sweet Mary. She's the nudge master to the nudge master here. She keeps me going, especially when life gets lifey. That's a quote directly from Mary. She taught me that many moons ago, when life gets lifey. And to honestly own the openness of needing others and allowing myself to receive that support is a seismic shift in my life. I'm a lone wolfer. I'm a isolator. I'm a person who kind of benefited about the last year and a half of just being able to be home and do my thing. At the same time, I'm hungry for human connection. And I think that there's an honest truth to that for many of us. And so, Mary, thank you so much for sending Moonshot to Tanya all the way in France. It's exciting. She's making a European appearance. I know Alex has her in Austria, and we have her in Greece and Spain, and I think even Croatia. So she's in New Zealand. You know, it's exciting. It's exciting to have have the opportunity to share on so many different levels. That's being open to my life, to be real, raw, and vulnerable with what's going on. And as I opened Moonshot this morning, in chapter 6 on clarity, I think we're finally getting to the part of the book where I start sharing more about the solution, because this book is loosely based on the format that we use in 12-step recovery, which is what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So the what it was like, the first 4 chapters are really dark. They're intense, they're deep, they're traumatic, and it was hard to share them. And I wanted to pull them out. My editor said, no, leave them in, start with them. And I'm like, ah. And then I think you already know this, but the book got to publication at Balboa Press without the final edit. So Tanya, beware, there's a lot of edits in there that didn't happen. And it's learning how to embrace my imperfections, embrace that I'm never going to get it perfectly right. I'm never going to share a story that's going to resonate with everyone. There might be certain parts that people can relate to, and you take what you can use and you leave the rest. And if I can approach myself that way, I can approach others. And Mary, your quote was spot on. Thank you so much, my dear, for sharing that. When we can live in a way, and the Harville Hendricks quote also, with non-judgmental awareness toward ourselves and toward others, it's so freeing and so opening that, and I know Junie will probably speak to this later. If not, I'll give a little prelude. She does a lot of the deep shadow work, like what is the dark side of ourselves, that we may try to push away, but everybody else sees, right? And that notion of you spot it, you got it. That's the relational work that I've seen, that thing that annoys me in someone else, or the thing that I admire in someone else, like it's lost, it's in me, and to reclaim my wholeness is part of this journey as well. So I wanted to light a candle. We don't do the whole ceremony that we used to, but I want to at least have this universal symbol of bringing light to darkness, bringing wisdom to ignorance. And the candle symbolizes the openness for me around the historic trauma in the United States of America. Today, tomorrow, this weekend, a lot of people are celebrating Juneteenth, which is a historic, I can't honestly use the word celebration. It is the acknowledgement of the end of slavery. However, we still have systemic racism in our country. And the wind might try to take this. So I'm going to bring it over here for a moment. Keep the flame alive. I'll bring it back. And it's of grave concern. So those of you who read my emails can see me sharing my thoughts about that from time to time. What can I do as a white woman? I can talk about it. I can name it. I can identify the pain in my own life through my ancestors, through what went on, without tipping over into shame, but acknowledging what part have I played in this, and really understanding that my silence around it is saying it's okay. And so I can't be silent anymore. I get to be that silence breaker. So that is part of the openness that I'm experiencing in my life today. I have 2 amazing young men, white males, and to be a white male in this world right now, I think is pretty daunting. And so how do I give them the compassionate toolkit, the skill set to not beat up on themselves, because that can lead to paths of addiction and aggression, and still be connected with the world. So I'm super passionate about this. I'm humbled in thinking, we could all have these conversations together, and what I'm being mentored on in all the books that I'm reading and the teachings that I'm consuming is white people need to talk to other white people. That's where we've got to do this work right now. And so it's opening my mind, like we can't just jump to the Pollyanna, let's all hold hands in a circle and be respectful and love each other up. That's where I was for a long time. And I wrote about it in Moonshot. Let's let go of us and them. And I'm recognizing that there's an importance in the distinction of our different histories, our different traumas. And a lot of the trauma is deeper in my body, in my ancestral body, than just the past 400 years. So it's a little harder to access, but it's there. So I'm doing the deep dive, the soul excavation work of being a white woman who's willing to speak up and say, we've got to acknowledge this, and how do we be the change we want to see in the world. So with that, I think the candle is going. A moment of silence. A moment of remembrance that this bird song here is similar to the bird song in Denver, in New Jersey, in France, in the deep South. All over the world, we have different birds singing the song of our hearts. I will read A Blessing of the Heartbeat, which I wrote in 2017. Steady in sound, flexible in pace, tireless in presence. Heart beats on and on. Love dub, love dub. New blood flows, headache goes away, laughter massages my heart, memory energizes life. Love dub, love dub. Healing oxygen enters each cell, lung trees expand and contract, embodied presence calms the lullaby of life. Love dub, love dub. A blessing of the heartbeat. It's so fun to read that out loud. I imagine that's what the heart sounds like, that love dub, but I don't know. It's a funny rolling of the tongue. So what I can say about openness is there's a quality of space that when I open to a situation or open to myself, it has a certain felt sense. And when I think of space, I think of the acronym that goes along with it. The S stands for soft. There's a softness to it, a real tenderness when I'm feeling open. The P is for that positive feeling. It's very powerful. It's a positive sense. The A is active. There's an alertness and aliveness. The C is the clearness, the clarity. It's known. And the E is that energy. Yeah, it's feeling it. It's the aliveness. And so I'm always hungry for that on any given day. Whether I'm sitting in the hospital and the doctor's saying one thing and the nurse is saying the other, and I'm over here and I'm trying to tune into my intuition, it's like, how do I create a little bit of space in this moment where I have to make a decision? Find that space, tether to the breath. What are the daily practices I can do to allow openness? I can smile upon awakening before my feet hit the floor. And I love this practice. I am so grateful to Thich Nhat Hanh. It sets up that neurochemical cascade of feel good. Yes, I can do this. Because there are some mornings I do not want to get out of bed. And smiling helps act as if, fake it till you make it kind of thing. The other thing I can do is move my body daily. And when life gets lifey, it's amazing. My intentions of yoga with Adriene first thing in the morning go right out the window. I'm like, what happened? That's so important to me. But I'm busy washing Everett's sheets and our washer broke. So I'm at a friend's using their washer. You know, it's like, how does the day get so full? And when I'm nervous, when there's uncertainty, when there's fear of medical condition, when there's powerlessness, I get even busier. And I go into Energizer Bunny activation. I was doing everything yesterday. I could have carved out 20 minutes for yoga with Adriene. I could have done the physical therapy exercises for my hip, but I chose the busyness because, as I shared earlier, I go here to try to cope and titrate my anxiety. And here's the thing, it doesn't get me where I want to go. So then I remember, and it's never too late to restart my day. Yeah, come back, move my body, even just a little bit. And then adopt that attitude of gratitude. That's my final pointer for a practice on openness is, even in the midst of all this, we're so grateful that we got to the hospital for Everett with his appendix. And then when they were in there, like, oh, there's a tumor on the liver. Oh, we wouldn't have found that without the appendectomy. Ground in gratitude, right? So coming back, coming back. being grateful for the timing. We just had the most exquisite trip to Kauai for 3 days. We shoved our little family vacation, 9 days of activities within 24 hours, and it was full. And we're on a boat jostling up and down, and we're hiking out in the remote. If this had happened while we were there, oh goodness, gratitude. We got home. We got home. Gratitude for modern medical care. Gratitude. My schedule is open in terms of my flexibility of scheduling things. And I can anchor in on the commitments. And had this set with Junie Moon for a couple of months now. Mary and I had this, let's do this for a year, let's do this masterclass. So just gratitude anchors me in a way that nothing else can. It tenderizes my heart and I feel open. And when I'm open, my kids want to be around me. They get my nurturance. I get their love. And it's a way of connecting. Oh goodness, Willette is here. That's wonderful. I got a little distracted. So, hopefully she'll come back. We ground in gratitude as a practice of openness. I believe it's almost 9:30, which is about time to turn over to Junie Moon. I feel like I've been sharing lots and I want to just feel the tenderness of my own heart, of my own family's heart, of the, Hawaii's going through a lot now. Do we open to tourism again? Do we not? People coming out of COVID, do we all get back together in groups or do we stay in our isolated bubbles? This is a universal experience. Denver, New Jersey, France, if Willette gets in, Philadelphia. Yeah, it's like, what are the universal experiences? How can we use those as bridges for compassion to open versus just shut down in fear? That is my invitation to myself and to you today as I nudge you along this journey. So thank you so much. I believe Mary will now introduce Junie Moon and we'll see where we go from here. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Amy. All right, so yes, we are going to have the pleasure of hearing from Junie Moon, the love coach. Junie teaches women in midlife how to magnetize their ideal partner and experience next level love. Using her unique heart-centered dating strategies coupled with some powerful mindset tools that helped her magnetize the love of her own life, women learn to embrace the precious stage of life with confidence, playfulness, and ease. Junie's an award-winning international speaker, best-selling author of Loving the Whole Package. She's the I'm so sorry, Junie. I'm going to start again.
It's all good.
That's one thing that helps me is I make a lot of sounds that kind of gets me cleared out. Junie, an award-winning international speaker, best-selling author of Loving the Whole Package, Shed the Shame and Live Life Out Loud, director, producer of the film Shed the Shame, host of the podcast Midlife Love Out Loud, and a certified shadow work facilitators. You can find her, especially the people that are watching this, because I'm going to put it in the chat, but for all of you who are catching this not live, it is CoachJunieMoon.com. CoachJunieMoon.com. Without further ado, here's Junie. Yay!
Here's Junie. Thank you for that beautiful, joyous intro, and for the opportunity to join this group. And I love the topic of openness. And I just really want to honor you, Amy, about being so open with your journey, your intention, what you're creating here, the wisdom you bring. There's so many words, adjectives that I can give to you, and I just deep bow to what the work that you're doing on this planet and the places that you're creating to bring your beautiful message. So just love. I'm just so grateful for you. Openness. It's, who would not want to be open? And yet most of us aren't. Most of us get in our own way and limit what is possible, whether it's opening our heart, whether it's opening our vision to what's possible in our life, opening to new relationships, new love, opening to a new exercise plan, whatever it is. What stops us from being open? And I love your definitions. Off the top of my head, like the ordinary one of just kind of acceptance and being with what is, which is beautiful and wonderful. And then there's the acceptance and wanting to take it to the next level of, up leveling to the extraordinary. I sign up for that. And to sign up for, I want the extraordinary. I want to open, accept, be with what is, and open to what else is possible. Certain things need to be in place, or out of place, frankly. Because at the end of the day, what keeps us from opening up? What keeps us from really taking steps for our highest and best and up leveling our life? And so, as you said, I'm a shadow worker, and I want to share what shadow work is. So just a quick story about where I've come from and this body of work. I was appearing to be open for many, many years. Most people in most of my life, people would say, oh, Judy is just like such a free spirit and she's so open and da la 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 la. And on the outside, I was. And to a large extent, that was authentic. And yet underneath the surface of that bubbly, open, wild spirited young woman, underneath it was deep, deep fear of being inadequate, deep, deep fear of falling short. I'm not thin enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't really know what I'm doing. I better be careful. If I really open up my mouth, bad stuff is going to happen. Blah, 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 blah. All of this stuff, this inner critic, busyness in between my ears really got in the way of me being able to open fully with ease to my life. And so I found myself in a 20-year relationship with a relatively great guy, and we had a lot of fun. And I walked on eggshells, and I was afraid to speak my truth. I was afraid to express my needs. He was a bully. He was a spicy dude, and I didn't want to have that conflict. And so I learned to micromanage everything. And I micromanaged it a lot with food. So I was 200 pounds, trying to like hold on to dear life to control as much as I could. And, right now, if we think of control, does that sound open? No, I'm controlling everything. Let me make sure nothing bad happens. And so it was painful. And I got to a point where it wasn't working. It was affecting my kid. It was affecting my health. And something had to change. And I had done a ton of personal growth work, but nothing really was sticking. Nothing was shifting. And then I found shadow work. So real quickly, the shadow is a part of you, part of your personality, part of your energy that somewhere along the way got shamed or judged. And you had an experience in your life that made you go, ooh, I better not be like that, because when I spoke up, I got slapped as a kid. Or when I expressed my desire to be an artist, I was shamed, saying, you'll, keep your day job, or whatever it is. And so we get messages from our culture, from our parents, from our teachers, everywhere you look. And it continues on and on and on. And with all these messages, and being that we are wired for survival, not pleasure, and we are wired to fit in to make sure that we're going to be okay, we close down. We lose access to that openness. We are in survival mode, and that inner critic shows up and tries to keep us in check so that we don't get demolished, eaten up, destroyed, stomped on. And so life happens to each and every one of us, and we pick up all these beliefs along the way that shut us down and close us off. So here we are wanting to be open. I wanted to have a great relationship with my husband. I wanted to step into the work that I was doing, but I couldn't. I wanted to. It was a great concept. I wanted peace and love and joy and connection, but I couldn't open up because I was in such deep fear that if I really share who I am, if I really open up my heart, I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be left. I'm going to be alone. And that kept me from living a full life. So once I discovered it wasn't a food problem, but an inner critic problem, and ultimately a programming problem, I didn't see what was going on. But once I did, and it's not just an understanding, because shadow work, it starts with awareness. Oh, I want to be open, but I'm not. I want to be a lighter weight, but I can't. Why am I sabotaging myself? So once we start to acknowledge that something is not working, we're not in alignment, we're not living the life that we so desire, that's the beginning. In shadow work and just in life for any personal growth work, something's not right. I'm not where I want to be. What am I missing? And I deeply, deeply encourage people to get a mentor, to reach out for support, people that have a flashlight to get out of the darkness. They know how to get out. I didn't know how to get out of my pain. I hired a mentor to help me because she was further down the line. And with shadow work, I was able to have the light shined on the shadow bag that I was holding, my self-esteem, my healthy anger, my ability to set boundaries, my ability to make decisions, my ability to love myself and to express myself. All of that was pushed away because if I really let that loose, scary, scary, scary. I had all these experiences saying, don't be like this, don't do that. And once I was able to take back those parts, and I'm still working it. Every day I'm still working it. I'm still uncovering, nuances. And even in my partnership right now, my beautiful love, we're in the shitter. We are deep in the shit right now going, oh, something's not working. And this is what's happening, and doing our best beautifully and challenging to stay open to what's possible and whether it's okay or not, to have it in front of us instead of it running us behind us, because that's what shadow does. If we say, I'm not going to be expressive, I'm not going to share my truth, then that affects how we show up in every aspect of our life and certainly limits us from being open to spirit, to joy, to all the deliciousness of life. And so shadow work for me changed my life. I've kept off 50 pounds and then some for almost 20 years at this point. And I don't throw things under the rug anymore. I don't throw things out because anything that I say is not okay, it's the baby with the bathwater. There's bad stuff. There's shadow stuff. And that stuff is the icky stuff that we've witnessed and we go, oh, I don't want to be like that. But inside there's gold, like anger, like, oh, we've seen aggression. We've seen horrible things. Why would we ever want to say, I want to be an angry person? No, I don't want to be an angry person. But I do want to have access to my anger. Because if I don't, I become a doormat. If I don't have access to anger, I cannot feel the ouch and the ability to go, we need to talk. We need, a line needs to be drawn in the sand and we need to have a conversation about that. I don't have to cut his head off or anybody else's head off. I don't have to rage, but I will rage if I don't allow it to come out. And that's what happened in my marriage. I would beat on his chest. I would hold it down, hold it down, hold it down. And then that last final straw, and I would beat on him, That's what we don't want. We don't want shadow rage. We don't want shadow judgment. We want to be open and conscious in this present moment. And that comes back to acceptance too, because if we can truly accept that we've had some baggage that we've picked up along the way, if we could truly accept that life can be lifey, I love that. I love that. And go, okay, right now in this moment, 3:40 my time, one of my dearest, dearest friends is in surgery. He has been in the hospital for over 2 months suffering from COVID, and it's been a nightmare. I could push it away. I could ignore it, but I remain as uncomfortable as it is, as tender as I can feel, open to say, please, highest and best for my dear friend Kyle. Please have him and take good care of him. I couldn't do that years ago. It was too scary for me to be that vulnerable. I had things happen just like you have had in the past that has shaped me. And there were times in my life that vulnerability was just not going to happen. But the cost of not being open, the cost of not having our hearts open and being able to be transparent and vulnerable is we don't get to connect more deeply with our beloveds and ourselves. And that was the high price I paid. And then I said, no more. And so shadow work gets us beyond the conscious mind and gets us in our body, gets us into the programming and says, wait a second, I'm going to take back this energy, shed that shame. It is not mine. These messages are not mine. These messages hurt me and hurt others. And take the gold back, find my voice, find my truth, and put a stake in the ground and say, I'm going to stay open no matter what. That's my message. My message is to keep our eyes open, to keep our hearts open. I call it strategic vulnerability because we don't want to just like crash open our hearts. We don't want to just go, okay, I'm just going to be vulnerable and open to everything, because we know that's dangerous. It is. We need to be mindful, and life can be tricky. I'm not going to wear a mask and I'm going to walk into that crowd and I don't care who's vaccinated. I mean, everybody has their thing, but maybe a year ago, that wouldn't have been a great idea, So throwing caution to the wind is not necessarily the smartest thing. Being conscious, knowing our choices and coming from that informed place and that stake in the ground saying, I really want to have joy and fullness in my life. That's what I'm talking about. And the only way, in my opinion, to get to that openness, that truth, that expansive, joyous, next level love place, which is what I talk about, how to have love at the highest level, is to unpack the past, look right at it straight in the eyes and go, that's not true. That is bullshit. That is a lie. I am not taking in that lie one more day. And then of course you have to work it, because that lie has been drilled in for years and years and years. My film, Shed the Shame, is about body image and body shame, and years and years and years of people telling me and everybody else that, well, you don't look like that, so you're not so hot. Lose 30 pounds and then maybe then, it's like to retrain, to release, to let go. I mean, takes time. I still work on that. And with that said, my eyes are open and I work it. So to pull it all together, if we want openness, and I think it's our divine right, if we truly want next level love, to up level our acceptance and beauty and confidence and glory and drink the nectar of this life, we need to wake up and we need to go, this isn't working for me. And this needs to be thrown out. This is not something I accept anymore. And when you can really set that boundary around some of those beliefs and really feel it in your body and reprogram yourself, it's not a thinking thing. It really isn't. It's like a real embodiment and special processes that we do in shadow work to be able to blast through that wiring, to be able to go, wait a second, I'm not angry at my mother anymore. My mom and I are so close. She's one of my best friends, if not the best friend. I friggin' hated her. I couldn't be in the same room with her, but I did the shadow work and suddenly I was able to see her with new eyes. And now I am open so fully to who she is and her to me, and it's golden. So to be open, to be able to live our life out loud, which is my message, life out loud. We need to empty out the garbage. We need to claim what is rightfully ours, a joyous, delicious life, and show up present time to the best of our ability. So I don't know if I have any more time, but that's kind of my message. And do I have more time, or is that a good place to stop? I don't remember.
Wow. Well, let me join you. I want to get on this ride with you. So let's do the both and. Yes,
Yeah,
more
okay.
time, but let me unmute if I may. I love it, Junie Moon. I love the language with which you speak. And after I was on your podcast and you're like, oh, we got this thing, I'm like, yeah, now I hear it more. And it's just, to me, it's so affirming. It's so, we're in alignment of that passionate goal of, I wrote the note, drink the nectar of life, live life out loud, the word golden, just what I hear you speaking to is the both and, which is what my extraordinary definition of openness is. It's acceptance of where we are. And we can add in there the importance of looking at the past, the dark stuff. That's why I did the Imago training that I did, because the Buddhist psychology of being in the present moment was wonderful and golden. And I kept getting triggered by stuff from the past. If it's hysterical, it's historical, my reaction to things. So it's worth looking at that and looking at the past and living with what's in front of us, being open to it with strategic vulnerability. I love your phrase around that. I love the intentionality around that, and the importance of, what I heard was this theme of looking back at the past and kind of dismantling all of the lies and the constructs that were untrue. And so in seeking that truth, speaking that truth, to me, that dovetails with that first distinction of trust. I think trust and truth are very, very close cousins. And so I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, if I may. You talked
Please.
about we're wired for survival, not for pleasure. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Well, I always like to tell this make-believe story. So imagine you're having the best sex of your life, and then you smell smoke. The house is on fire. Are you going to go, we're having the best sex? Do not disturb. It's okay. We'll deal with that fire later. Or are you going to get out of the house and make it through? We know the answer to that.
Yeah.
And there's so much science that says that old brain behind us. It's like, you go back all the eons, all the many moons where we were tribal and we needed each other. And if we were kicked out of the tribe and we were sent out, we would die. We needed to be accepted. We needed to have that connection and that community. That's still in us.
Yeah.
And so how I see it is, when we're younger, especially when we're vulnerable and we need our parents to take care of us, we can't be on our own. We're going to do whatever it takes. We want that approval. We want our parents to love us. And if we feel threatened in any way that we're going to lose that love, what are we going to do? Anything. In fact, in shadow work, we talk parts, that we say there's a part of us that's a risk manager. And that risk manager is watching all the time. Ooh, when you said that, you got that look from mom and it made you feel like she didn't love you and you felt so alone. So we're wired to make sure that we're not kicked out of the tribe. And that old brain, that fight flight, that, all of the neurochemical, neuroscience, all that stuff that's out there. And I'm not going to be doing it justice at all. But bottom line is we want to fit in. We want to feel safe. We want to know that we're going to be okay. And we want pleasure too. Yeah. But we want to make sure that we're not going to get hurt. And that's why when I work with women, I work primarily with women in the second half of their life that are single and wanting to open to love. And they're going, but I was betrayed. But my husband died. But my relationship was so abusive, that their fear of it happening again or falling down the same rabbit hole in some way again outweighs their desire for connection and love. So they want it, but they find themselves sabotaging. So at the end of the day, we need to dismantle the crap they picked up, the beliefs that who's going to really meet me and not hurt me? Can I really have love now that I'm in my 57-year-old body and I'm flabby? Like whatever the thing, the thinking is. And so we need to take good care of that part that's scared and breathe life into what we deserve and that pleasure that we want. So that's how I see it.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I appreciate that you brought up the anger piece as well, in terms of establishing how is anger related to survival. I think it is a natural occurring energy. to set right something that's wrong, to reestablish boundaries, to help us access, what you said is you don't want to be a doormat, and anger can help us, kind of funnel that energy to remain safe and feel the ouch, feel the feels, and move anyway without trying to control everything. And I appreciate the awareness and the transformative experience you had of thinking it was a food issue, and then recognizing the control issue, and then recognize the inner critic issue, and like the layers underneath. And I really invite anyone listening to check out your video. And you gave Mary a free gift link. Mary, you can drop that in the chat, but somewhere in there,
I did, so it's in there.
Oh, okay. The link for your video. I mean, just the body painting exploration, and you're cruising around. I think there was even snow, or it was really cold.
Yeah,
right?
it was like 33 degrees. I'm naked and body painted. And I talked about body image, body shame. It's a 9-minute documentary. I'm going to pull it up real quickly and I'll put it in the chat box. It's the thing I'm most proud of everything. Oops, hold on. I don't know if you heard that. Hold on. I hope you didn't hear that. It's all the music just started.
No, I didn't hear.
Oh, good. But that's the thing. It's like I got programmed at a very young age to believe that I wasn't okay the way I was, the way I looked, Yeah.
It's a powerful video. When you asked me to be on your podcast and that was part of your signature line, I just clicked right on it and I was like, whoa, how cool is this? Like, I think I'm a courageous young girl inside. I'm like, could I imagine doing that in my 51-year-old body or whatever it is? So it's about loving ourselves wholeheartedly, the whole package. It just reminded me of the Holy Grail donut shop that we found on Kauai. It was the best donuts ever. Being able to still eat donuts and enjoy them, but being grateful we don't have one down the street from my house, because they were the best donuts. Anyway, it's having the laughter, the levity, as I shared in the reading I did about the heart, the lung trees, when we take those deep breaths and they expand and they massage our tender hearts, and they give messages, because you really highlighted this, Junie, in your video and in your sense of, we can't just figure it out up here. It's an embodied knowing, that when we can do these practices of smiling and breathing and laughing and really getting in our bodies, it helps me, I can share my own experience, metabolize the pain, the trauma, because the shadow stuff, for me, life has pain, but it's the suffering that I can generate by the story I tell myself around it, like the abuse from so-and-so, and then it just like, we don't know if it's happening in the present time or not. We just keep re-injuring ourselves. So absolutely want to underscore your message that the time is now for us to wake up and do this whole gig called life a little differently. So
beautiful.
Final words for us, Junie. Tanya, if you have any questions, or Mary for Junie before she pops off here at the top of the hour.
Well, I just wanted to say, because you put the link into the free gift, I should just say, I'm talking about the risk manager. I'm talking about the inner critic. I'm talking about how we get in our own way and how to get out of our own way so that we can be open to what we desire and want. And so the free gift, it's a workbook. It's not like a long journey of a workbook. It's 10 solid steps to help you really unleash your soul purpose, unleash that which you desire by shifting what's going on inside of you that closes you down, shuts you off, and has you sabotage yourself. So it helps you lower the volume of your inner critic and be able to open more consciously, working with your inner critic as an ally, believe it or not, so that you really can manifest that next level love life that we all desire and deserve. So my final words are healing is possible. Keep on going. If you're not happy, if something's getting in your way, if something doesn't feel good, then it doesn't feel good and something's off. Stay open to what's next, what's possible, and get mentorship, because there's some really amazing, wise people out there, you being one of them, to reach out to and go, hey, I'm missing something. I need your flashlight. Help me out.
Right, right. Absolutely. And back to you as well. If you know of someone who's a single woman in her second, how do you phrase that? It's so nicely put. Second.
I do say second chapter, but I typically say women in midlife, over 40 that are starting over, that are wanting next level love, but are bumping up against their fears and doubts, and, giving them some healing tips and processes, and then the dating tools to get them moving in the right direction.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love it. I love your clarity of your specific audience that you can help. It's refreshing. So thank you so much
Thank
for that.
you.
Tanya or Mary, do you have any questions for Junie Moon? No? Okay.
I just loved, I really appreciated that, just the opening the vision. Yes, the heart, but I think when Junie talked, when you were talking about opening the vision, I like that different, opening to a different sort of exercise or a different way. And so I liked hearing that. That just was that one thing of all of it that I heard. That it was, yes, my heart. And yes, the vision, it was good for me to hear. Yeah.
Thank you. That's great. Great takeaway. Beautiful.
Thank you, Mary. Well, we will close out our time together in our deliberate, intentional fashion of ending on time. Mary has really helped me with that in terms of containment, because sometimes I get going and I just want to keep going and going and going. But being open to being gentle in the transitions, that's been a real focus of mine of late, is one thing I really want to learn well before I exit this earthly plane, is how to transition with grace, because that's going to help me in the dying process someday. And it helps me, as I move from a Zoom room and then my kids are right outside the door, right? I don't have the 20-minute decompression work change zone. So it's really about bringing that intentionality to open to the next moment, but to really close the last. So I do that with my past as well. I don't want to be constantly operating from a place of thinking about all those things, but in a way of intentionally writing the story out, writing from someone else's perspective, burning it, putting it in my God box, surrendering it to my higher power, whatever practices I can do to kind of have a closure before another opening. And remembering the spiritual truth that we've all heard, like when one door closes, another one opens, God doesn't give us more than we can handle, like knowing that there is a flow of life, that there is a grace that is all around me. It's opening myself up to receive it and to feel that flow and that support. And coming together with you all today is part of that flow for me. You're helping me on this Aloha Friday to fill up my reservoirs of not just giving, but also receiving in that energetic exchange of excellence. And that's what I love about my coaching practice now, because my many decades of being a therapist, it was very much kind of a different sort of energy. And now it's a little more mutual, a little more power with versus the old paradigm of power over. And I think that's the shift that the world needs right now as we're healing the systemic changes that get to happen and the individual changes of healing our past. So with that, I think I can blow out the candle. And I don't like to put my breath on it because I learned that kind of can taint it with my own views. So it's the energy of release without the spoils of my own fears on it. So with that, I bow to each and every one of you with me right now and watching later. I hold you high in my heart. Together we can, because you matter and your relationships matter. So take good care. Be well. Yay, I'm going to stop the recording now. That's so funny. And I'm going to stop the